All right, hello once again. This is Jeff Scott of Rankin Technical College, and I've been going over my bootstrapped version of the St. Louis Blues Line website that I created as basically just an HTML5 website using HTML5 boilerplate to begin with. All right, so far I've talked about the nav bar, and I've talked about what I call my cover or main page. So now let's go over and talk next about the carousel. All right. Carousels they're a popular item. I could have taken that carousel and put it on the main page, and sometimes on the top you see that. All right. But I wanted to add a carousel in here even though we did not have any kind of carousel to begin with. All right. That's still fine. Again, I had a little bit of problems here, as you can see. Okay, with it doesn't look bad on a smaller screen, but as you make it bigger, the stuff that's here kind of disappears. I do want to mention that there's the image, as you'd guess, and notice there's also, it says photo 1, photo 2. I should have probably made that darker, but it still is okay. And photo 3, and I can go through it this way, and I've got the little arrows here. And it also is designed, although I've had some problems with it, to go by itself. All right? Just keep that in mind as we get started. So we've got the div ID equal my carousel again, so that we're able to do a page jump, and jump to it. This is in a section that's called carousel. You should always strive to come up with something that is indicative of what the section's going to be about. Since this is a carousel, that's what I made the ID. All right, when you're working with a carousel, notice ID equals carousel home, but here's the thing. All right, carousel slide. The data ride equal carousel, I believe, I could be wrong on this, but a lot of the stuff that you end up putting in here, like for example, roles, okay, that we're gonna talk about in here, these are for These are for devices where you've got people that have some kind of an impairment, be it a visual impairment, a hearing impairment, or whatever. But I'm putting in there data ride equal carousel, and let's see if we get anything on it. All right, the data ride equal carousel tells Bootstrap to begin animating immediately when the page loads. Okay, so we've got class equal carousel. That specifies, as it says, that the div contains a carousel. The slide class, which adds the CSS transition and animation effect, which makes the item slide when showing a new item. It says omit it if you don't want this, and I don't believe, do I have that even in there? No. Maybe that's why mine doesn't look quite as smooth as it could have otherwise. I don't know. The indicators, as it says in here, the data target points to the ID of the carousel. So what do we have in there for data target? Well, data target. So that you see here, here, and here, we've got ID equal carousel home. So that's what this is, and this is, and this is. This gives the slide number, starting with 0, and this says that's the one we should start with. And again, if you want more, and it doesn't have to be W3 schools, but you'll notice that they do an excellent job here of going in and explaining everything that's in here. All right? It says here on the bottom, the data slide attribute accepts the keywords prev and next. All right? And why would you care about prev and next? And I may or may not have even put those in. And it looks like did I not? Well, that's on me. What prev and next do is they make sure that people who have any kind of an impairment, and it doesn't have to be that they're blind, but it might be that they're not very mouse proficient, or they can't work with this or with this. So they get the words down here, previous, or prev for previous, and next. So that's another way that they can move through the carousel. All right, and you notice with each one of these, again, we've got the role attribute, and I can't say this too many times to you or for you. The fact that that role lets the system know, it's kind of sending a signal, for lack of better words, that, yeah, this is how this is going to be used. All right, these are just things I found online, some JPEGs, and I think one might be a GIF. All right, the alt isn't very good. I was originally going to put in players' pictures. All right, and then I decided against that because I had too big of a problem scaling those. All right, there's my data slide equal prev. All right, with the carousel controls, the next and the previous. And you'll notice with both of those, they say SR only here and here. SR is for screen reader only. So if someone is using a screen reader, it's a way that they can manipulate their way around that's the site, or that part of the site. ARIA. All right, again, I'm going to come up here and do exactly what I did before. So it says, what's the difference between HTML hidden and ARIA hidden? ARIA is accessible rich internet application. As it says, it defines a way to make web content more accessible to people who have disabilities. By saying ARIA hidden, it tells screen readers whether or not they should ignore the element. So it says, hidden means hidden to everyone. ARIA hidden means hidden to screen readers and similar types of devices. It's a Boolean attribute. Okay? When used on an element, it removes all relevance to that element. All right, and that gets us down and up to the about, which I'm going to do, I think, in the next lecture. I like breaking it up and making these things nice and small. Now, the next one doesn't have really much in it. So I think in the next one I will combine that with the form. All right, so I might only do one more of these. We'll see in just a couple minutes. You know what? I'm at 8 minutes. Let's add this one. That's fine. So here's the about. There's my jump. There's my section for my about. All right. There's my div. And I'm telling it column medium size 6. And all I did in here was put in my paragraphs. Now remember, with that about page, it looks a little bit different in here. It looks a little bit different. What do I mean? Well, I use some regular CSS, if you want to call it that, because now we're talking about this. So originally, you may or may not remember, but originally that about page that we had was just a page of text. I tried to make this a little nicer. So I added a picture of where the blues play, and I took just the beginning of the about part, and I put it in its own div. All right, gave it some color, and basically just took the first paragraph that was in there, and also came in afterwards and added to that paragraph. As you can see, I added the social media icons. Not real big. It's something that you may or may not want to do. Okay? So notice those, I put them in as buttons. Secondary outline. All right? An outline button by default doesn't have any color in it. It just has an outline to it. But then I just changed it to actually have the logos. Probably mentioned this to you before, but on the off chance that I did not, here was my... there's the Twitter logo. It was pretty big, not real big, but it was 225 by 225. So I went out to makeathumbnail.com and copied it and changed it to 100 by 100. It's typically much easier to scale photos down or graphics down, images, than it is to scale up. I did it for that one. And then I had the Twitter, which the Twitter logo was originally this size right here. Did the same thing and scaled it down to 100 by 100, and did the same thing with YouTube. All right. Scaled it down from, I guess it was 163 by 163, and did it to 100 by 100. One of the reasons that I used makeathumbnail.com is I wanted to make sure that when I did this, they were all relatively the same size. All right, and when you look, I don't like this gray that's in here, but I guess I just didn't take the time to go back and fix it. What I should have done is change that so that gray wouldn't have, it would have been regularly the same color. And it has to do with the outlines and the other stuff that I put in there, but I just didn't take the time to fix it up and make it look any prettier. All right, so there was my target equal blank for that. And I did have a target equal blank for all three, but it did appear as though that first one did not open in a new window. And I'm not sure why that would be. But all three of these, when I clicked on any of them, should have opened up in a new window. And you'll notice that one is not. So I don't know what the problem is right there. I'd have to check that out. The other two open up in a new window. Or I thought they did. That's real nice. It may be a browser thing. I don't really know. But by the target equal blank, that should have opened up in a new window. That should have opened up in a new window. And that should have opened up in a new window. They're all in my A tag with a target equal blank. So why they're not opening up in a new window, not positive right now. I'm going to come back and finish this up by first talking about the form and the changes I had to put in for the form, and then hitting the footer on the bottom. I will mention quickly that here was my carousel. Again, height and width of 100%, a little bit of padding. All right. This was that about page. Again, that was the Scott Trade Center image. I put a little bit of margin in there, and I had an H3 and an H5 tag. All right, did some work with coloring on those, some coloring with the regular text, with the paragraph text, and that brings us down to the sign-up form, where I'll continue in just a couple of minutes.